Welcome, everybody, Title Tribe, and everybody that's fixing to join the Title Tribe. I want to start out by saying I want to welcome two of our newest members that joined today. Welcome, Kenzie Lynn and Mr. JB. Appreciate you guys joining, and it's great to have you guys part of the team and everything. So, once again, this is Friday Night Roundtable, NFL Roundtable, where I got a group of guys here, just want to hang around, talk a little football. Hopefully, we could help you in the championship games this week. Let's start out by the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Coach. Coach, how you doing today?
Man, I'm good. I'm good. We got a lot going on. Like today, the last few days have been kind of wild. I just got off the phone with Mark Simon about an hour or so ago. We set up our playoff league. It's $30 an entry, hoping to get about 100 teams in there. But we also set up for the first time. So that playoff league is our fourth annual playoff league. But now we're doing a pick'em challenge. That's $25 to enter. And it's our first time ever doing that. So we needed to create a spreadsheet, which Mark handled. He created the spreadsheet, put an image together, advertising it. So a lot of, nothing. I mean, it's all good stuff. All good stuff going on. Busy, excited, ready for the weekend. My kids are in the other room playing Fortnite and Roblox and all that good stuff. So the vibes are high in the chef's household right now.
Well, once again, sir, I appreciate your presence joining our roundtable discussion today. I am your Frito Bandito, and next to me, I got my man Will, the co-host, running the tables and everything. Will, how you doing today, sir?
I'm doing fine, sir. How are you? Hope all is well. Happy New Year, everybody. Hope everybody had a safe holiday, had a wonderful holiday, had a relaxing holiday. I didn't have a very good holiday because the Cowboys lost to the Dolphins. And yeah, I see you over there. I see you. I see you. Nah, man, everything's good here. Everything's good. How about yourself, man? How's everything?
Hey, good, good, good. It's been a hectic
Good.
week and everything, but my team also won and everything, so I can join in the festivities of celebrating with my man George Reed down below me. George, how you doing today, sir?
And I don't know about everybody else. I know I don't try to speak for the Frito Bandito, but I'm going to do it right now. It's wonderful being in Club Dub this weekend. We're lounging in the lounge room. We got our feet up. The bottle girls are bringing bottles. We're popping them left and right. And it's a wonderful feeling knowing that your team went out and they didn't lose this weekend.
Yeah, I feel you 100% and stuff like that. I love celebration and stuff. It's love to celebrate and stuff. But hey, real quick before we move on, I want to take the opportunity to welcome one of our Patreon members, Mr. David at Genesis_fantasy. David, how you doing today, sir?
Hey, not too bad. I'll join that whole winning team thing. My Steelers beat my fiance's Bengals while we were on a vacation. It was glorious. I was on the mountaintop singing.
Hey, look at that. 3-2 celebrating wins.
Oh.
Will, coach, I apologize.
I picked the Steelers over the Bengals in our pick'em challenge.
He did.
And I tied for first place in our pick'em challenge. So back-to-back weeks, I'm in the first place. So I'm in Club Dub as well.
You're in Club Dub Junior, Coach. You're NFL, and you don't get in the high rollers club with the rest of us. You're in Club Junior down there.
Fair.
All right. Hey, David, real quick, sir. Why we got you on and stuff like that is anything you would like to promote and everything. Do you dabble in a little bit of podcasting or just having fun with fantasy football?
Yeah, I do a little bit of everything. I have a lot of fun. I'm in a couple 4 championships this week. I podcast with Fantasy Sports Core, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, all of it. And then I also run a card break group on Facebook, Genesis Card Break. So if you're into cards or memorabilia, come on in.
Oh, you're speaking someone's language. I know someone else that does that too.
Yeah, man.
All
That's why
right,
we get
so
along.
I'm sure we will. Hey, coach, you actually did make me a little jealous this last week on Christmas Day. Me and Keegan, my son, we were opening up card packs and everything, and man, we didn't really have any good luck. And then you post on our Gilded chat and everything about your son opening that one, getting that one card. You want to discuss that real quick?
Oh, which one was it? Man,
Uh,
he
one
opened
of
a
the
few.
rookies.
It was Laporta.
There you go,
You got a
Laporta.
Sam Laporta. Usually, you know what? Like David probably has different experience than I do. Usually, I don't have a lot of luck ripping packs because I don't rip that many packs. So usually, I'll take the money that I'm going to invest in a box. Like if a box costs 150, I'll take 150 and I'll buy 3 cards that I want or 2 cards that I want. And I tend to I don't know. I like my son. I made a few trades with him tonight. He got the real good end of the deal. He opened a few packs. He got a Josh Jacobs, Las Vegas Raiders with game worn jersey. He got a Tank Bigsby rookie card. So those are what I gave him 2 Micah Parsons and a CeeDee Lamb, all 3 rookies signed to put in his safe. So essentially, it's an investment. So I said, hey, I'll give you these. You lock these away. You give me the Jacobs and the Bigsby, and I'll find a way to work that into some Patreon giveaways.
Nice. I'm getting all excited. All this talk we've been doing about recently on our Patreon and stuff. Look, Patreon, we don't only discuss football, but we discuss everything and stuff like that. And just like David here and everything, he gets on there. We constantly have conversations going on. We discuss everything. That was something recently where we all talk about some of these cards that we have that we've been collecting and everything. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get into our topic of discussion, Russell Wilson in the Denver Broncos drama. The Broncos told Russ to defer his $38 million guaranteed, or he would be benched for the rest of the season. George, what's your thoughts on that, sir? Is it the right move?
If I'm a big-time free agent or a young up-and-coming professional athlete who is a free agent looking to get a contract, looking at the way the Denver Broncos are treating Russell Wilson and his contract situation, I would want nothing to do with that franchise at all. I don't want anything to do with it. I won't entertain a deal with them. They're doing him absolutely dirty. I don't like what they're doing with him at all.
Yeah, it's kind of flashbacks of what happened last year with the Raiders and Derek Carr and stuff with the same QB, Jarrett Stidham and everything. David, what's your opinion on this transaction or situation going on?
So I don't think so much that it's doing him dirty. I understand from their point of view why they're doing it. I think it's a mistake. I think they, yes, it's Sean Payton and he works his magic with the cap. I think that he improved enough in his first year with Sean Payton over last year with how much money they have invested with him. They should be playing him. They should be moving forward with him. It looks like they're going to get rid of him completely. And I don't know how they're going to do that because I can't think of a team that's going to be like, we will pay Russell Wilson for what we've seen the last 2 years, that much money. But, people do crazy things for quarterbacks, so.
Yeah, for that kind of money, I just don't get it. It's flashbacks for me. Coach, what do you think?
I just don't know what they're going to do. He is making a lot of money, right? And he did have a rough first year. He's coming together. He's playing well. Right now, they're expected to pick around 14. So they're one of 6 teams that are 7-8, and they've lost 2 in a row. So the highest they'll likely move is maybe 10, 9 to 10. And 9 to 10, your Drake Mays, your Caleb Williams, your Jaden Daniels, the top 3 quarterbacks are going to be gone. Cortland Sutton's not getting any younger. Javonte Williams, what is this going to be year 3 for him? And you get 5 years out of, running backs for the most part, unless you got an elite special running back. And there's not many of those in the NFL right now. So Devontae Williams isn't getting younger. Cortland Sutton isn't getting younger. Jerry Jeudy can't seem to play consistently. And I think it has to do with all the change going on around him. So you want to bring in a new quarterback, and I think that's not going to help Jerry Jeudy. So I just, what's the plan? So you want the money, and then what? You obviously want to win. So do they know? Are they going after Kirk Cousins? Do they have a game plan? I feel like they have to know something we don't. Because at pick 14, Bo Nix, Quinn Ewers, which are good ball players, but do you want to hitch your franchise to one of those guys at that, in the top half of the draft? So I'm just uncertain what their plan is.
Will. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, George.
Yeah, I was just gonna say real quick. My one concern with, and I agree here with Coach. My one concern is like, if you're going with Bo Nix, like he's like 2 years younger than Russell Wilson. He might be a rookie, but playing wise, he's only about 2 years younger than Russell Wilson. So it doesn't make any sense.
Bo Nix is 23. Bo Nix is 23 years old.
And how old is Russell Wilson? 25? Is that what you're saying? Will, is there any team out there that you think is going to go after Russell Wilson? Well, I mean,
there's a lot of
things out.
I mean, yeah, but there's a lot of QB injuries this year. I mean, there's going to be a lot of movement in the offseason. I really do think so. And I'm saying outside the draft, and the draft master in here is definitely Coach. But I think that initially when I saw the whole thing and I read everything that I did see and all the details, I found it hard that, is it true? That was the first question that came into my mind. Is that the exact thing that happened? Because Russell Wilson spoke about this in an interview in the locker room. And I'm like, not saying he's a liar. I mean, why would he lie? But also, why would he say that? So, assuming it is true, yes, I do think that there are teams out there that can use them. Like Chicago's in a really good spot right now with their first pick from Carolina. You also have the Browns. I was just talking about this with Wyatt today. How many starting QBs have the Browns had? 5?
4.
4? And they have Deshaun Watson, who's going to return next year with that monster contract. Really? Russell Wilson, I think, is past his prime. And I think that what's been done to him is wrong, assuming this is all true. But I think the problem with Denver is Sean Payton. I don't think the problem with Denver is Russell Wilson. I agree with Coach with what he said with having with Jerry Jeudy, with Sutton and all of that. Like, you're going to change that if there are a big change. I don't know. I'm so like on the fence with, why would he say it like that? Is it true? I don't know. Is it real? Is it?
Coach?
If you're the Pittsburgh Steelers, you taking Russell Wilson next year?
Yep.
Right?
Here's my problem with the Russell Wilson thing. There's half a dozen teams to a dozen teams that will take Russell Wilson if they cut him. But there's no team
Steelers
that
are legitimate with
Russell
100%.
Wilson. They would, except for the Steelers are one of those squads that are faithful, and we still have Pickett on a cheap contract right now. I don't see them moving on unless they get a great opportunity at somebody fantastic. Wilson, the last 2 years, has not shown that. Wilson will play somewhere next year. I just don't see the Broncos being able to convince anybody to trade for him.
Well, you said it. They have a cheap contract, so maybe, like I said, I'm throwing out Commanders too. Maybe they take a stab at him. There's, like I said, there's many teams out there that could be taking a stab at him.
Washington's picking at 3. They're taking a quarterback.
You could see him going to New England. You could see him going to Atlanta. You could
New
see
England.
New England.
Good point. No, I agree with you.
You could see him potentially going to, and I know he's not here to yell at me, but you could see him going to the Giants. Like there's about 7 or 8 teams really across the league where you could see him, Rich. You could see him going to the Raiders.
No, don't say that.
You could see a
not
swap
listening
between
to
him
that.
and Cousins.
He would be an upgrade over every quarterback on every one of those teams that is currently there. The way he's played this year, I'm not sure if everything that's going on right now with Denver, I don't know if I can lay all of the blame at Sean Payton's feet because he's only been there for 1 year. And there was some issues with this team that were there before Sean Payton got there. So I can't 100% say everything is his fault, but he has definitely exacerbated a lot of these issues. I don't know if he's gotten a hold of ownership and they've sat down and they've had like these behind the scenes conversations and saying, "Hey, listen, let's just strip it down 100%. And once we strip it down 100%, let's turn around and rebuild it up. Give me, 2 or 3 years to build up this roster to where it should be." But and letting ownership know ahead of time, hey, there's going to be some pains. We're going to have some really bad seasons, but that's all going to be a part of our productive struggle. So just be prepared that, yeah, I know, this organization's used to winning. It's used to having winning seasons, used to being in the playoffs. But within our division, I mean, you got Justin Herbert, you've got Patrick Mahomes, you've got the Raiders. So, we have to, let's strip it all down and build it back up and build it up the right way so we can compete where we need to be with these other teams who have, successfully been able to build their team around star quarterbacks. And guaranteed those conversations they've probably had.
I don't want to beat a dead horse here, but I don't know if I'm buying it, George, because if he's willing to rebuild with Denver and be patient with Denver, why did he leave New Orleans if they were in a very similar situation? It was going to be the same timetable, and that was home. And he's 60 years old. He's not getting any younger. So I think Sean Payton wants to win tomorrow.
He probably, and I know I'm speaking for him. I don't know I don't have any firsthand knowledge of this, but he probably had some coaching fatigue to where the team was getting ready to go through a rebuild, and he was exhausted from all the pressure that was on him year after year after year with Drew Brees to, okay, let me step away. Let me get, my head right, my body right. Allow me some time away from the game, take some vacation, spend some time with my family, and then I can come back in a couple of years.
All right. All valid points. But let's move from one QB that ain't going to be playing this week to another one that's coming back after being gone for concussion protocol. Stroud is going to be starting this week. Excited to have him back and stuff like that. Tank Dell, we already know his situation. He's out right now. Will Collins, go ham. Will, I'm going to start out with you, sir.
Oh, yes. So I'm in the championship game this year with one of my leagues, and I was reading, and I even asked the Gilded and all the boys, who do I start? Rice, Kansas City, or Collins? And then I saw the news that Stroud was coming out. Totally Collins. I think that Rice, that's a whole nother story, but Collins, his coach CJ Stroud coming back. Tank Dell is still out. And who else is he going to be throwing to as number one? To go into a championship game, I'm confident that he's going to have a massive week.
Shout out to P in the chat with the 99-cent donation. Appreciate you, my man. George, thoughts on Stroud and Collins?
So my thoughts are more on Nico Collins than Stroud, to be honest. Rich, I'm going to say something you've heard me say almost all year, every Sunday morning on Title Time. It's Nico Collins. You start Nico Collins till Nico Collins realizes he's Nico Collins. He hasn't realized he's been Nico Collins all year. He's having a phenomenal season. If he's healthy and he's playing, he even had a few games with the backup there, if I'm not mistaken. So you go ahead and you start Nico Collins. You don't bench him.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, Coach.
Yeah, I'd like the Tennessee Titans are giving up the 6th most points to opposing wide receivers this season. They're averaging about 40 points a game to opposing wide receivers. So Nico Collins, I mean, he's putting together a phenomenal season. He's been hurt, but I think he gets into the end zone a lot. I think the possibility that he goes off in a must-win game for the Houston Texans. I mean, they're battling for a playoff spot with the Tennessee Titans, with the Indianapolis Colts, with the Jacksonville Jaguars. I mean, that division is close. They got their quarterback back. They got Nico Collins back. Got a good matchup. You know, I think he's going to get into the end zone. I think he's going to have a good day.
David, let's close out with you, man. Any thoughts on Stroud and Collins going ham?
Hey, listen, they're both going to go off, and I'll go one step further and say they're going to take the division. I mean, they're facing the Titans at home this week, and then they have a beat-up Colts team next week. Whereas the Jags, they just lost Trevor Lawrence. He ain't going to be there for at least this week, and then they have to go and face the Titans next week, and the Titans at home are a different beast than the Titans on the road. So I'd say the Texans win the division, and if you have Noah Brown, throw him in too, because every week that he's come in to fill in for an injury, when he's the third guy, he doesn't do that well, but when he comes in and replace either Tank Dell or Nico Collins, he's going off every week as well.
Yeah, the thing with the just slipped my mind, the other receiver we're talking about, with everybody being out. Yeah, Noah Brown. Everybody being gone, you know, he didn't really blow up because obviously he's part of the focus where they're going to cover him and everything. And now that Collins is back, great call on having him in there and everything. So, Coach, before you leave, is there anything you like to say?
Just everybody, man. We got the playoff challenge going, 4th annual. It's $30. It's a pretty cool setup. You can only start a player, so there's no draft. It's not head-to-head. We're going to have anywhere from 70 to 100 teams. All teams are competing against each other, and it's the team with the most points at the end of the Super Bowl. That team wins. So that's a lot of fun. You can set your lineup any players you want, but you can only use them once. And then the Pick'em Challenge, that's pretty damn cool. That's $25 to enter. And there's 14 teams in the playoffs. You assign a number 1 through 14 to each team. Each time a team wins, the point total you assign to them, you get. So at the end of the Super Bowl, the person with the most points is the person who's going to win that pool. So we got a lot of fun stuff going on. If you want access to that, get in the Title Tribe community chat, toiletstotitles@gmail.com. We'll get you in there.
Yeah, Coach, I'm only going to get in it if you tell your son not to get in this year.
Man, he came in second last year, so this year he's coming for blood. It was a big letdown. It was a big letdown. He was in the lead until the Super Bowl, and so yeah, that was tough, man. His first big defeat.
All right, Coach. Appreciate you very much, sir. As always, thank you very much.
All right, take care, guys. Have a good night.
See you later, Coach.
And just like Coach said, look, if you want to hit us up about joining our Gilded Toilets and Titles at gmail.com, you can message us or anything like that, and just come in, have chat with us. David, real quick, how you enjoying Gilded and everything?
Yeah, I love it. I use Discord a lot for my games, and that thing goes off all the time. It's harder to manage. I like Gilded a lot. I come there daily for information. I like how you guys have it all set up in the separate chats.
Nice. Once again, I like I said, and the cool thing about it is it's not always us giving answers and everything. It's all the members that we have in there, and that's the beautiful thing about it. If one of us can't get there, we have all these members that are giving their 2 cents, and that's the beautiful thing about it. So let's jump into our next topic, playoff pictures going into week 17. I'm going to go AFC first. Ravens are sitting at number 1, Dolphins at number 2. You got Chiefs at 3, Jaguars at 4, Browns at 5, and the Bills at 6, and the Colts at 7. On the bubble, Texans, Steelers, Bengals, Raiders, and Broncos. Will, on the bubble team, who's getting in and who are they forcing out?
Love to say the Steelers, but I'm sorry, David, I can't. If anybody, I really like the Raiders defense.
Yes.
I think that I do. I like AOC. I like the defense. I think that they're performing well. I like this interim coach with all that drama that went through. I don't know the details, but I do think it's going to be the Raiders. The way that they destroyed the Chargers was just like a teaser of what's to come. I do.
Well, I kind of know where David's going to go, but I'm going to kind of lead in. He did mention the Steelers playing the Colts. Well, the Raiders are playing the Colts this weekend, so we're going to beat them up and make it a little bit more easier for you, David. But are you picking the Steelers?
I'm not just picking the Steelers. I'm dream scenario here. The whole AFC North wins this week. Browns can't get any higher. Ravens can't get any higher. They sit their starters. Steelers and Bengals win next week. The whole AFC North gets in the playoffs with one Bills loss. If the Dolphins beat the Bills next week, Steelers, Bengals, the whole division's in the playoffs.
Wow.
George, I mean,
Like
we
it.
already know where your Dolphins sit and stuff like that. So, give us some other thoughts on who's making it and who's not.
So I like what David said about the North, all the teams making it in. But the only monkey wrench I'm going to have to throw into that is the Dolphins are going to beat the Ravens this weekend, and the final score is going to be 21-24 Miami. So they're not going to win out. They are going to lose this weekend. The Dolphins will beat the Bills on next weekend. The Ravens will win next weekend. The Bills will lose to both the Patriots this weekend again because they've already lost to them once. They're going to lose to the Dolphins next weekend. The Bills do not make the playoffs, but the AFC North does.
All right.
Wow. All right. Okay.
All right. Let's jump over the NFC then. 49ers in first. We got the Lions at second, the Eagles at third, Buccaneers at 4. I know Jason's proud about that. You got Will and coach's team, the Cowboys at number 5, the Rams at 6, and the Hawks at 7. On the bubble, Vikings, Falcons, Packers, and Saints. David, is any of these bubble teams getting in, or is it staying where it's at right now?
God, you said the Packers were in 7th?
No, Packers are a bubble team.
Packers will get in. I like the Packers to get in. I actually had the Packers. They're the only team other than my Steelers, because I'm totally a homer, who is not winning their division this year, and I said they would. So I think they can sneak in. I think that their offense is young and electric. I think they can get in.
All right, George, what about you, man?
I think the teams that are currently in the playoffs for the NFC, I think that is the order that they're actually going to finish. I don't see another team from the NFC South getting in over Tampa. The Packers do have a good shot at getting in if the Seahawks slip up, but I think the Seahawks they're playing pretty decent ball right now. I don't think that they're going to slip up and fall out of the playoffs. So I think the teams that are currently there are the teams that are going to be in the playoffs.
Okay, so I'm going to throw a monkey wrench in this before I hop over to Will. Buccaneers are playing the Saints this week. If the Saints win, what does that change?
The Saints would then be in the playoffs and the Bucs wouldn't, but I don't think the Saints are going to win. I think the Bucs are going to win.
Will?
I definitely think the NFC is going to stay the way it's at. I think the Rams are going to make it. The Seahawks are going to make it. Cowboys off. The Bucs. I do think that the Bucs are going to make it. They look strong right now. I think they just got that momentum under them. Yeah, I really do. Like, I could see the AFC changing a bunch, many different scenarios, but in NFC, I think we got 4 teams that have already clinched. So 3 spots. Yeah, I don't see the NFC changing. I don't, and I hope the Cowboys go number 1.
All right.
Which they won't. I know.
They won't.
I'll have to play with the playoff machine to see how it looks, because, I mean, obviously I'm hoping that the Steelers beat the Seahawks this week, which would drop them to 8-8, and I have the Packers beating the Vikings, and then the Packers have the Bears in the last week. If they win, even if Seattle beats the Cardinals, which I would assume they would, I'd have to figure out, because they'd have the same conference record. So I'll have to look at that and play with the playoff machine to see who would come ahead there.
All right. Let's go ahead and hop into the games of the week. First one on our list is the Lions at the Cowboys Saturday night. Both teams have already clinched. Number 1 and number 2 still on the line in the NFC. David, who wins this game and why?
Sorry, I was thinking playoff machine. Which one are we looking at again?
Lions and the Cowboys.
Oh, I have the Cowboys winning this at home. I think that they're coming in mad about the Dolphins game. I just think they're electric, and I'm still a little salty that the Lions actually won the division, and I said that they would finish second. I just thought I didn't believe the hype on them this year. That there was, and if you guys remember the beginning of the season, there was so much hype on them, and I was just like, you haven't proven it yet. You still have Green Bay, who consistently year in and year out is great. You still had Minnesota, who even though they were supposed to regress, won 13 games last year. I just didn't believe it, but they proved me wrong. I will say that. I just don't see them going into Dallas and coming away with a win.
Will the Cowboys going to get a win?
Yeah, they're going to win because they're home. Everybody's healthy for the most part, and it's the Lions. I mean, I'm going to be honest, and this week I shouldn't be saying this, but I'm going to be honest. I almost put $400 down before the season started for Detroit to win the Super Bowl.
I hope your
and
wife.
Right now, she's not listening. I didn't because we had a baby, but I was like, I just have this feeling with Dan Campbell and the team. I really think that I was like, man, I think they're going to go somewhere. But now that they're playing the Cowboys are home. Everybody's healthy. I see the Cowboys bring home the W.
George, tell me about your Dolphins and Ravens game this week. I know it's probably your game of the week. They're fighting for the number 1 seed. AFC Championship preview.
Yeah, this is going to be a fun game. These two teams actually really match up well with each other. Everybody talks about how dominant the Ravens defense is, and they do lead the league in total sacks. They have 54 total sacks on the season. That is number 1. What is not talked about is the number 2 team in the league in sacks with 52 is the Miami Dolphins. Against the run, Miami is a top 5 run defense team. And if you tell me what is the most proficient rushing team, not running back group, but rushing team in the league, it is the Baltimore Ravens. So these two teams really play when they line up against each other, like they play to each other's strength. Miami, I believe, has the better cornerback grouping. A lot of it is because I don't think Mitchell's going to play this week. He got injured last week at the end of the 49ers game. I'm not sure he's going to play this week. That's a huge blow for the Ravens defense. They lost Keaton Mitchell, who the rookie, as you guys know, everybody here plays fantasy, so we all know who Keaton Mitchell is. But if you're watching and for some reason you don't play fantasy, he was the rookie running back. He was their most explosive and their fastest running back. So now they're back down to ground and pound Gus Edwards. And again, the whole thing is really going to – I think the Dolphins are going to tell Lamar, beat us with your arm. We're not going to sell out against the pass. We're going to sell out to stop the run. We're going to try to contain you. And let's see if your arm can beat our secondary. And I'm not really sure that it can. Just because how good the Dolphins secondary is. It's going to be a great matchup. I'm really looking forward to this game. I'm thrilled to death that they didn't flex this game into a Sunday night game, even though it 1,000% deserved to be flexed into the Sunday night slot. That just means it's going to be about 20 degrees warmer in Baltimore for when Miami travels up north. So this is a game I know the Ravens probably had circled on their schedule after the collapse that they had last year, where Miami came back from 28 down in the fourth quarter to beat them. So it's going to be just an interesting chess match for both offenses and defenses against each other. But I think it's going to be a close game. And as I said earlier, I think Miami actually squeaks this one out 21-24.
All right. So earlier this week, I was talking with Coach on the Tuesday show. Both the Miami Dolphins and the Baltimore Ravens, AFC teams, dominated their NFC opponents last week, knocking out the 49ers and the Cowboys up there. Apologize, Will. but it leads to this matchup this week. So look, I thought it should have been flexed. I get what you're saying, but look, it is what it is. Saints and the Buccaneers, they're playing this week. Look, it's a divisional game. This game right here is a big game for both these teams. I'm gonna pick this. I think I picked the Saints to win. I might be wrong on this. No, you know what? I did pick the Buccaneers, so I'm gonna stick to my story on that. But look, Carr and Olave, they're going to make this a close game and everything. So I'm not going to go too much into this because I want to jump into the next game because I know David has some thoughts on this one. Steelers and the Seahawks, both teams are fighting for a playoff spot. I know you're pulling for the Steelers, but give me some kind of feedback on this game.
I don't even know how to properly do that other than fanboying. The Steelers, even last week, like I said, I was in the mountains. I was up in Gatlinburg for a Christmas trip with the family. I didn't get to watch the game, but I watched the previews later on, the highlights and all that. And the stats made it look better than it was when really it was the Bengals didn't tackle George Pickens on those two big plays. Beyond that, it was about our average game from the Steelers. So, I mean, unless he breaks out with some more of that, this is going to be a ground and pound fight like it always is between Seattle, and that's just the way Pete Carroll and Mike Tomlin are. So this could come down to whoever has the ball last.
Go Pokes, Mason Rudolph. You trust him?
I've never trusted him. I do like him more than I like Trubisky. But I mean, there's a reason he's not a starting quarterback, and it shows.
All right. Bengals 8-7. The Chiefs are playing against the Chiefs 9-6. Look, it's a game of the week and stuff because the Chiefs need a win. That's all I'm going to say about it. Does anybody want to give their 2 cents on this one at all?
Hey, the Bengals need a win too. I mean, they're still in it just as much as all the other 8-7 teams. And they have, they're going in with this mindset. Everybody's like, "Oh, Joe Burrow is the big thing there," but all those other players beyond the quarterback, they're in that rivalry too now. They've been there the last couple of years. They've beaten the Chiefs. They want to prove that they can do it again. I think if Jamar Chase, if Chase is in, that it hinges on that. And in my eyes, that he has to play for them to have a chance.
Yeah, no, I agree with you 100% and stuff like that. Packers and Vikings, both teams fighting for a final playoff spot. Rookie Jaren Hall gets to start for the Vikings. Will wins this game?
Honestly, I don't know. I'll be honest. I think that I've always liked the Packers this season, probably because I have Reed had Reed in one of my leagues. I'm not too familiar 100% with both teams to really go too far in depth. But if I had to guess based upon what I have read, I will say the Packers.
I think you and me, we picked the Packers this week, right?
Yeah, I think you and I both did.
All right. David, any thoughts on this game?
I took the Packers as well. I just think that their offense is more electric than Minnesota's defense can stop. And they're not the same without Kirk Cousins behind QB. They're just recycling people and trying to figure out who the hot hand is. It could be Jaren Hall. He could win them the game. I just don't see it.
David, are you who we're playing against this week?
I'm not. You guys keep on. I keep on guessing, and I'm the first person to guess a number every week, and I'm always wrong in the chat every week.
All right. Well, hey, you'll get in there. You'll get in there, man. I can't wait. Can't wait to hook it up. George, any thoughts on this game?
No, I agree with the rest of the panel here. I'm going to pick the Packers. They're starting rookie Jaren Hall. Listen, they went with Dobbs over him, and Dobbs didn't know the players' names or the playbook by week 2. And they still said, you know what, Dobbs is giving us a better chance than the rookie that's been here all year. I get why they're playing Jaren Hall. They want to see what they have in him. Just in case, they want to bring him back next year, let him compete for the number 2 spot. So I get why they're letting him play. But I don't think the Vikings are really playing for anything going forward this year. So I'm going to take the Packers as well.
All right. So real quick, I want to clean a little things up here. Look, as always, please hit the like button, subscribe, hit the bell, and give us a 5-star Apple review. Guess what? We hit 2,000 subscribers today. So appreciate everybody that's been a part of that. And hey, 3,000 is the next goal, right? Let's go get it.
Let's go.
And as always, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Podbean, Twitch, When a Family Breaks on Facebook, and Spotify. That's where you can find and listen to us at any time that you feel like driving down the road and you just want to hear something. Come check us out and listen. We'd appreciate it very much. All right, Will, you got it from here, sir.
Let's go into the hot streaks. So we're walking into championship week, and we have a lot of people asking questions in the Gilded chat. And I think that what we're doing is we're doing hot streaks. I'm going to go through it pretty quick. Everybody chime in. Please stop me if you feel that you want to say something about that. And then I'm also going to go into the cold streaks as well. So I'm just going to jump right into it. If you are starting Dak Prescott or Jalen Hurts this week, they haven't scored under 22 fantasy points since week 6. That means that you are looking good. Now, they can always have a bad game, but things are in your favor. Jamar Gibbs has scored 25 plus fantasy points and at least 1 touchdown in his last 3 starts. If you have him starting, you might have the upper hand. Jordan Addison has played 75% of the snaps since week 5 with a 20.2% target share and a 23.7% first read share. This won't continue when Justin Jefferson is back, but it's awesome to see him step up. Alvin Kamara has been on a rampage. He is the only running back to average 20-plus fantasy points and has played in every game during the past 5 weeks. If this was week 1, I would have never guessed that. Rachaad White has scored the 3rd most fantasy points for running backs with 86.3 fantasy points since week 6. CD Lamb is the wide receiver 1, averaging 31.8 fantasy points since week 6. Yes, George, that beats Waddle. Just kidding. Go ahead, Frito.
Hey, real quick, hot streaks. Alvin Kamara. Yeah, I get it. He's been on a rampage, but my man is catching the bug. I think a lot of the NFL players are catching bugs right now, and feeling a little under the weather and everything. I think he is a player that might be affected by it, and I don't see him continuing his hot streak. Okay. My take on these players, David. Out of all what Mr. Will said, who's not continuing a hot streak?
I mean, I have been off Rachaad White all year. I've not been a fan of Rachaad White. I like the Bucs. I said that the Bucs were going to win the division at the beginning of the year when everybody I talked to was saying it was going to be the Saints. I rolled with the Bucs. My side note on all of that was, wow, now his name just slipped right out of my head. The wide receiver for the Vikings.
Jordan
Addison. I'm not convinced that he will drop off when Justin Jefferson is fully back. We've seen these number 2 receivers for the last several years excel with somebody like Justin Jefferson across from him. T. Higgins looks great with Jamar Chase. Devonta Smith looks great with A.J. Brown. Jalen Waddle looks great with Tyreek Hill. I think they could be, the next 1-2 punch like one of the greats. So
that's a good point. Good point.
George, you got any thoughts on any of these hot streaks? Anybody not continuing it?
Of course. So I like the Rachaad White note. I didn't realize that he was has scored the 3rd most fantasy points for running backs since week 6. I did not know that, so that's kudos. I respect it. I was not a Rachaad White guy this offseason by any stretch of the imagination. Just was not a fan. I honestly thought he would probably lose a lot of touches to Sean Tucker, and well, we've seen how that worked out. So I will be honest and say I was absolutely wrong on my Rachaad White takes this offseason, and hopefully for those particular takes you didn't listen to me. As far as the guy who will not continue his hot streak here, I think Will be happy that I'm going to select him because he's playing his Cowboys this weekend, and the game is in Dallas, and it's going to be Jahmyr Gibbs. I think this is going to be a really, really close game between the two teams. I think Dallas is a significantly better team at home than they are on the road. I think that's been, kind of showed throughout the season. Um, I think it's going to be super close. I think we're going to see a lot more of David Montgomery uh, with the Lions trying to ground and pound. And I don't think we're going to get 25 plus points from Jahmyr Gibbs this week.
Well, I'm sorry, sir. I hope you're wrong on that one because he's on a lot of my championship teams.
Well, he's been averaging 25 points a game for the last couple of weeks, so it's not a surprise you're in the championship with him averaging those numbers.
Got a point.
I will say for Rachaad White, the reason he surprised me, and I should have looked at this because I was saying at the beginning of the year that they had no run game, and they didn't have a run game, if you remember. It's all about him catching out of the backfield. And I never, when I do my analysis of the teams before the season, I don't think as much about pass catching backs because unless they're proven, they're less consistent. But he's been consistent with it, and I should have thought about that with how bad their offensive line was, that he was going to be dumping passes to Rachaad White all year. So I admit that was one of the ones I did not hit on this year. I definitely thought he was outside of the fantasy top 10.
Well,
he's not here. He will never hear this. If you guys tell him that I said this, I will absolutely deny it, and I will erase this from the internet. But Jason was 100% correct with his Rachaad White call. This offseason, he kept telling me, no, Baker Mayfield is a check down king. If you look at Baker's history, everywhere he's gone, he's always dumped it off to the running back. And I should have listened to Jason, and I didn't. And he was absolutely correct. And I will never admit that publicly ever again.
All right, now I'm a little upset, George, because if I remember, we have a story about Rachaad White. You, me, and Jason. I don't know if you keep on forgetting about this, but remember when we took our shots together?
No, I remember when Jason and I took shots together. I don't remember me, you, and Jason taking shots. I remember you taking a shot by yourself, and me and Jason standing around with our shots like, Rich, we were supposed to take these together.
Well, the reason why we were supposed to take those shots because we were supposed to give a hot take. And my hot take when we did this was Rachaad White would finish top 5 in running backs this season.
Yeah, that's right. You did say that. I absolutely forgot. I tried to erase everything from my brain housing group that has to deal with you and shots because I don't want to walk around knowing that Rich doesn't take shots with people. He does them on his own. He's not a team player. So I try to, just take that from the back of the Brainhouser group and throw it away. I don't want it to be associated with everything. And that's why I forgot about your Rachaad White take.
Yeah, I get it. I get it. I'll make it up to you guys this year at the expo and everything. Will, let's hit the cool streaks.
Let's do it. Hollywood Brown has scored double digit points one time in the past 5 weeks.
That's going to continue.
George,
he's not scoring any points this week. He's been ruled out.
Agreed.
I heard. I didn't want to say it because I was like, "Was that the right Brown?" You're right. You're right. He was ruled
It's
out.
going to continue. You nailed this one.
Hey, concrete, nice. Devontae Adams is touchdown 0 since week 2. He has not scored a touchdown since week 2. Insane. Cooper Kupp hasn't scored more than 6.9 points since week 7. Tony Pollard, who's not my favorite, I miss Elliott, is rarely scoring in the double digits. In 5 of his last 6 games, he scored single digits. That's why I picked him for you last week. Frito, Puka Nacua, 6+ receptions in 4 of the 5 games to start the season. Over the last 5 weeks, he's had 6+ receptions in only 1 game. Frito, what do you think?
Well, I think Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua have monster games this week. The Rams are playing against the Giants. I think Cooper is going to outproduce Puka, but it's going to be a solid performance for both of them. So they're going to be warming up. So I'll leave it with that.
Okay.
I didn't say anything about my Devontae Adams.
I didn't think you were. I was just going with everybody else. David?
I will say about your Devontae Adams, I think he does get in the end zone this week against the Colts. I mean, the Colts have a leaky defense. That's all there is to it. You could toss all over them. And Devontae is still a freak of nature. But I will take your action on the Puka and the Cup. I think Puka outdoes Cup this week. Not that it matters. I think Kyron Williams outdoes them both. So
Interesting.
Well, hey, real quick before we get to George, David, do you do rival fantasy?
I do, but because I live in Ohio, I can't do any of those fun things yet. I've been bugging them. I must have messaged support 30 times this season. Like, are you guys open here yet? I want to do. You guys keep on talking about the bingo boards, and I'm like, I want to do all this stuff. I actually both of my leagues on there. I won third place in one that finished last week, and I'm in a championship for one this week. So I finished top 3 in both of them.
All right, so joinrival.com. Look. You could play bingo. You could play just your average sport bet. This would have been a perfect bet right here between me and David. But we'll go ahead and do this online and stuff like that. I'm taking Cooper Kupp. He is taking Mr. Puka Nacua, and we'll leave it like that. George, Hotstreaks, any thoughts?
Oh yeah, I have lots of thoughts. We already talked about the Hollywood Brown. He's definitely that streak's going to continue. I hate to say it. I don't think Tony Pollard's getting double-digit points against the Lions this week. The Lions' defense their run defense specifically is absolutely phenomenal. So I expect that to continue. The worst thing the Cowboys did this offseason was let Ezekiel Elliott walk. Like, I get it. Cut him. He was making way too much money. I understand why they got rid of him. You know, they speaking of guys getting way too much money. Hey, Joe. It's like Joe knew we were talking about. It's like, oh, overpaid guys who are overpaid and should be cut and brought back on a cheaper deal. Let Joe.
Sounds like me.
But no, I totally get why they let him walk. He was making way too much, but. Man, not bringing him back, like, that was a huge mistake because the things that he excels at, like, Tony Pollard's just not built for, which is mostly near the goal line, short yardage work, and Zeke still has chops in the receiving game. So it was a great 1-2 punch, and I bet if they would have offered him, you know, the same type of contract he was getting from New England, Zeke would have absolutely took it. He didn't want to uproot his family and move from Texas to Massachusetts. Nobody wants to do that. Have you seen how cold it is in Massachusetts right now? It's freezing. Nobody wants to live up in that snow white crap falling part of the country all year long. Nobody does. So it would have been smart to bring him back, but they didn't. They wanted Pollard to carry the load, and I get Pollard's a cheaper contract, but man, that was just a mistake.
I will say that's one I nailed on the head at the beginning of the season. I said that people were drafting Pollard entirely too early. I was watching him go top 5, end of the first round at the latest. I just did not see it. I thought that Elliott and him were a perfect thunder and lightning combination, and they should have kept both.
I agree.
Yeah, Joe, who has graced us with his presence and stuff like that. Joe, I know it's been a busy Christmas for you. I see you shaved off your Christmas beard, and we can't call you Santa no more and everything. So I know you were big on Pollard at the beginning of the season and stuff like that. I know you caught up on some of our notes, but grace us with your presence, sir.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me, guys. I do apologize, but there was a delicious steak dinner that started later than it was supposed to, and it ran later than it was supposed to. A great time with the family. We had a wonderful festive steak dinner for everyone. And but Tony Pollard, yeah, listen, I actually that's Melvin. Melvin's chiming in. You heard Melvin.
Melvin doesn't want to talk about Tony Pollard either.
Yeah, no, he's like, Dad. He's like, I'm glad I listened to him instead of Coach. And that was, I actually thought Coach and I both thought Pollard was going to have a monster season, given Dallas's track record with running backs, their offensive line, and their running game, I assumed Pollard was ready to take off. And I was set to take him in pretty much all of my leagues. I mean, I actually wound up picking pretty high in all of my leagues. So I wound up going up in different directions. But if I had to, I was very happy. I was very happily going to take Pollard in the first round. Didn't wind up taking him in any of my leagues. And that wound up being a good thing. But I was surprised. I thought he was ready to take the ball from Zeke in terms of being the RB1. It didn't turn out. I was wrong about that. And I was surprised. I was surprised. Like I said, I had other options for me, so I wound up going with more safer options, like people with more of a track record. But Pollard, I was surprised by his disappointing season.
All right, Joe, appreciate you, man. Will, did you have anything that you wanted to say on these cold streaks? No.
No. Hollywood Browns ruled out this week.
Rest of the season.
Rest of the season. Yeah, actually, I think it is rest of the season. I did read that.
He's IR.
All right, so we are at the end of our show where we go ahead and jump into bottom of the barrel. But before we do, look, I know Joe's on here, and I know he loves to. Joe, give me your thoughts on this Russell Wilson thing real quick before we jump into bottom of the barrel.
I don't know. From what I'm seeing, just from what I'm seeing on Twitter, Melvin doesn't like Russell Wilson either. I get it. Denver's ready to move on. So it seems just from what I've been seeing in the Twitterverse or the Xverse, if you will, a lot of people are like, I don't get it. Russ Wilson had a bounce back year. Yeah, he did to a point. He's not the future though. And if they want to mix it up, I think they're going to be shooting probably to take a quarterback in the first round this upcoming year. I get it. It's not Russell Wilson's not the future. If you're not the future, anything goes, in my opinion, when it comes to quarterback, given how important the position is.
All right,
it's not a big deal in my eyes.
Gotcha. Well, look, appreciate your input. I hope you had a Merry Christmas, and I hope you have even better New Year's. Bottom of the barrel, Will. Look, after a week one where you had some points go, but you had a good week this week and stuff. So for bottom of the barrel, just so everybody's aware, Will picks my team. I pick his team. We have to pick from me and Jason's rankings, where you can find at toiletstotitles.com. We give our rankings of our top 10 positions, and you have to pick a player from those positions. He's picking for me. I pick for Will. The goal is we want to pick the team that's going to score the lowest points with the top 10 player. Will won last week. Will, who did you pick for me last week?
Last week was Lamar Jackson, Justin Jefferson, Tony Pollard, and Isaiah Likely.
They scored 65 points. I remember telling you last week when you gave me this lineup, I said, "Oh, we're going to score 100," but that did not happen. I picked for Will last week. I picked Tua Tagovailoa, Mike Evans, Raheem Mostert, and David Njoku. I don't know what the heck I was thinking picking these players because they had a good week. They scored 72 points. So I was the loser of last week, a bottom of the barrel. The differential of that was, what do we say? It was 7 points. Okay. So for the season, you're sitting at 15 points. I'm sitting at 7 points. Will, let's get back in the game, man. Who do you got for me this week?
So this week I decided I wanted to just randomly pick. I went through the list and saw everything, and I said, I'm just going to pick at random who I think is going to work. There was one that I was iffy about that I may have changed, but most of them are. Kyler Murray for the quarterback. Amon-Ra St. Brown. I hope I said that right. Running back is Jonathan Taylor, and tight end is Travis Kelce. Everybody will say that I'm crazy for picking Kelce. The commercials, over 300 commercials, and the what was the other one? Oh my God, I'm drawing a blank.
Taylor Swift.
Thank you. I can't believe I forgot that one. Totally got to his head. Not the same player as he was last year, or even the beginning of the season before this whole Taylor Swift all BS started. I just want to watch football. Apparently, it's getting to him too. Shot in the dark. Let's hope it works.
Did you factor in that he's facing the Bengals I think, worst against the tight end position this week.
Maybe.
Hey, I'm all right with that. All right, so my team I picked for Will. Look, I'm picking Baker Mayfield at quarterback. They're playing against the New Orleans Saints. This is a divisional game and stuff like that. Look, usually when these teams play, it ain't going to be too high scoring and everything. So Baker's been looking good. He's had a solid 3-game performance and everything, but I look for him to be a little bit underperforming. Still going to have some good games, but look, I think he's going to be the lowest performing out of the top 10 QBs I have listed. So I'm going Baker Mayfield. DK Metcalf at wide receiver. Look, dealing with injury. Did have a DMP for the week and is dealing with the lower back issue. So there's a possibility he could go into this game and retweak that back and everything. So I'm playing the injury card there, Will. So I apologize for that.
Okay.
But I wanted to make sure I got in here before you started picking players and everything. So I wanted to make sure I had a good list for you. Derrick Henry at running back, playing against the Houston Texans. Is it time for the Titans to roll on and move on from Mr. Derrick Henry and give Mr. Tajay Spears an opportunity to produce? Look, Derrick Henry had a good game last week. Turned into a quarterback, sometimes actually outperformed Tannehill. So it's time to ride off in the sunset and let Mr. Spears take over. So I'm giving you Derrick Henry at running back. And look, tight ends, it was real tough and everything because of the fact I think this is going to be a big tight end week. I think a lot of tight ends are going to score some points. So if I had to pick anybody from my top 10, I'm going with Dallas Goedert. Playing against the Arizona Cardinals, I know it probably might sound crazy, but there's a lot of mouths to feed over there in Eagles and stuff like that. And I look Goddard to be the lower performing out of all those mouths that Mr. Jalen Hurts has to feed. That is my team for you, sir, and I hope they score 10 points. That's what I'm projecting, 10 points.
I don't know. Like I said, this is tough because they're the top 10, that you guys have picked, and I don't really disagree too much with everybody you picked. So it's really just a matter of just who's going to pick the worst, but they're still going to get some pretty good points unless they have an injury or something like that. But it's fun though. It's fun. I like the challenge.
All right. So guys, I appreciate it. David, one more time, sir, give us a little shout out of what you do and just promote yourself, sir.
So generally the podcast, you guys won't see me because I do a start sit podcast on Sundays at the same time you guys have yours, which is why you have not seen me on yours commenting all season. However, I do one earlier than that on Sundays called Wake and Rake over on Fantasy Sports Core on YouTube. And then I do football card breaks, occasionally other sports and memorabilia, but mostly football because it's what I know, over on Facebook at Genesis Card Breaks.
And as always, we'll see in our chat a local Patreon member right here, Joe. I don't know if you had the opportunity to meet him, but this is Mr. Genesis and everything. So once again, appreciate you and thank you for jumping on the show. Did a stellar job, man. Really great commentary and great info that you threw down. I really do appreciate it. George, appreciate you, my man. Any last comments that you'd like to part ways with? Yeah, I agree with you 100%.
I think you're muted.
Oh, George, you're speaking way too loud.
My wife
Stop screaming, George.
My wife always says, "You're so damn loud."
We should have just let him keep going the whole time.
I figure, I'll mute the mic, and this way, I'm speaking softly. No, I want to thank David for joining us. It's great to have our patrons actually join us on the show. We truly do appreciate your support. And I want to thank Will and Rich, for hosting this show starting every Friday night. I believe this is the second week that we've had the show, and appreciative that you guys have taken the time to grab the show by the reins and have slums like myself and Joe on. We greatly appreciate it.
Joe, appreciate you,
I
man.
just want to say you're welcome for me hopping in 5 minutes to go. with complete non sequiturs to everything you were talking about. You're welcome. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year.
Before we go, can I ask Joe a quick question? It's something that we discussed earlier in the show.
100%.
Yeah.
Joe, I brought this up, and I would like to know your opinion on this. We were talking about we started the show talking about the Russell Wilson situation, right? And I mentioned one of the teams that I could see potentially, look at he already knows where I'm going with this, where I could potentially see Russell Wilson going would be your Giants.
It's not crazy. It's not crazy, George. I don't want to see it. I'm more of like, listen, just at this point, go young. Go. I don't believe in just taking a quarterback for the sake of taking a quarterback. Let's see what happens in the draft. I want to go young. I want to rebuild that way. It's nothing against Russ Wilson. I like the year he had with Sean Payton at the helm. But I don't want any retreads at this point. But it wouldn't be crazy, George. It wouldn't be horrible. It wouldn't be horrible.
Okay.
You show me the trade. And what they
can
do.
They're gonna. There's no trade. They're just gonna cut him. It would be a sign. He would sign.
Remember, Daniel Jones is already making I think $47 million plus the cap space is $67 million for next year. So unless Russ Wilson's taking a huge pay cut, I just don't financially. I think it's either going to be Daniel Jones or a first round or second round quarterback. I think it's the route they have to go. So, but it's not crazy at all. I don't dislike Russ Wilson. I'm glad to see the bounce back year he had, and it makes sense. It makes sense strategically. But
all right,
he'll wind up somewhere. He's going to be an upgrade for many teams.
Now we'll see about that. So I am your Frito Bandito, and once again, I want to appreciate everybody for jumping on. I even want to appreciate the dogs over there with David. David, what's the dogs' names?
The tan one is Lacey. She's my older one, and the younger one, the white one, is Violet.
Well, I appreciate both of y'all being on with us today. And with that being said, Will, send us out today, sir, with any last comments you'd like to say.
I have one last question.
Oh,
please.
You called Joe Santa, said he had a Santa beard. Were you Santa for Christmas?
Go ahead, Joe. Let him know.
Oh man, I'll tell you, I shaved the beard. Well, I trimmed it. I should say it still have the remnants, but I trimmed it. But about 2 weeks ago, it was looking Santa-ish.
So this year, my daughter's biological dad, he has 3 other kids, and they have their youngest is less than a year. She got RSV about a week before Christmas, so they didn't get pictures with Santa. Me being the nice guy I am, also known as my fiance volunteered me, I'd had to dress up as Santa for Christmas and get pictures at their house. So I got changed at a gas station up the street from their house. And I think my favorite part about it was this little kid. Once I was fully in the Santa thing, I got in my car and I started to drive by, and this little kid started freaking out to his family. Oh my God, it's Santa. Made my day. Happiest kid I've ever seen. He was so happy that Santa, he didn't ask why Santa was driving a Ford instead of a sleigh, but he was happy. It was great.
Hey man, it gets the job done just like the sleigh.
Yep. And I'm starting to put on weight, so I barely even needed that pillow.
Well, the running joke is at this time of every year, Joe's real busy with a lot of stuff going on, so he's not around as much as he is during the off season and all that. So we always say that he's our Santa out there taking care of things for us. So
good work.
Will, send us out, sir.
Well, it's championship weekend on Sunday. Don't forget. We got chores. Sometimes Joe jumps on. Sometimes Frito. I was on there last week wishing everybody a Merry Christmas. Our start and sit was title time. Starting at 10:30 Eastern time on YouTube. I believe we are on X as well. Hopefully it's X, formerly Twitter. Don't forget to check it out. It's going to be super crucial this week. Hopefully everybody wins some money. Hopefully everybody does well. And we'll see you next week.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, everybody.